appointed positions. So we stand for women's empowerment, women's development, women's leadership, and entrepreneurial skill building.
So the motto seems to be go out there and make some worms or something and get into business with the big guys. These ladies are ready to show you how. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
If you want to find out more, contact Claire Berryman at the city's Office of Contract Compliance. Just dial 311. Well, African-American leaders are honored for expanding opportunities for minority-owned businesses. Gil Reyes reports from a special ceremony at the Downtown Marriott.
It's my great pleasure to present you with the Chairman's Award. Deborah Flint, ladies and gentlemen.
L.A. Mayor Eric Garcetti presents one of the night's biggest awards to the head of Los Angeles World Airports. They're the operators of LAX.
Our dedication to inclusion of local, small, and diverse business is such a paramount goal and principle.
LAWA Executive Director Deborah Flint is overseeing an $8.5 billion renovation at the airport, one that's said to emphasize local hiring and inclusion of more small, minority-owned businesses. For that, she's honored at this year's Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce dinner in downtown. Other awardees include Inglewood Mayor James Butts. He's instrumental in bringing Rams football back to Los Angeles County. Also honored is Phil Washington. The CEO of Metro's rail and bus systems hopes to score big by teaming with LAWA to build more transportation options to LAX. LAWA's Deborah Flint calls this a winning game plan. She comes to us from the Bay Area.
We still love our Golden State Warriors because they do believe in strength in numbers. There's strength in numbers in this room tonight, and I love
sorry, we're
LA.
gonna have to take it off the stage now.
Well, at least they agree on transportation upgrades and possibly cheering on the Rams when they get here. Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Other honorees of the night included DWP board member William Funderburk and South Coast Air Quality Management Chairman William Burke. Well, Harry Potter fans, prepare for magic as Universal Studios in Hollywood unveils its new Wizarding World of Harry Potter attraction. Anna Marcos takes us there.
The lights go up to reveal a place of magic as the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and its Hogwarts School of Witchcraft makes its grand debut at Universal Studios. The attraction is based on the Harry Potter books and movies. Now city leaders hope Harry Potter and his Gryffindors, Hufflepuffs, Ravenclaws, and Slytherins cast a spell on Angelinos and tourists alike.
Incendio!
And there were plenty of magic spells going around as celebrities and stars of the Harry Potter movies walked the red carpet.
My favourite is Wingardium Leviosa, which is the charm for levitation.
You know, this is phenomenal for Los Angeles. We had a record number of visitors last year, 45.5 million people. That means money spent in our economy, and we think as much as 1 million more people will come simply because of this one attraction.
The Wizarding World of Harry Potter has already drawn record crowds in Osaka, Japan, and Orlando, Florida, where it opened earlier.
You know, I'm not surprised. I mean, Harry Potter is universally loved by millions and millions of people around the world.
I don't think there's like a limit to how far Harry Potter can go, because I think people just love it.
So when my kids need a Harry Potter fix, we don't have to go to Osaka or Orlando. It's a much closer drive from La Cañada.
Anywhere else, it's a roller coaster. Here it's called the Flight of the Hippogriff, after a magical flying creature in the Harry Potter movies. So drink your witch's brew, butterbeer, and hang on for a magical journey. Oh, and a magic light show doesn't hurt. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Universal Studios, by the way, has had a makeover with 75% new attractions, including a soon-to-open Walking Dead attraction. Well, April is Volunteer Appreciation Month, and the LAPD is making a big push to attract more reserve officers. Gil Reyes has part one of a special volunteer series on how the department is switching its training schedule to accommodate and recruit one specific community.
The Sabbath. It's the holiest day of the week for the Jewish faith, a time for family. It also means no driving, no working, and no classes that day for Orthodox Jews interested in volunteer police training. The LAPD's West Bureau has the largest concentration of Orthodox Jews in Los Angeles.
You have the La Brea area, you have the Pico Robertson area, where you just have a very established large community with dozens of temples. And this was a good opportunity to get them involved where they, until right now, they could not get involved.
Chaplain Newman says what has hindered recruitment of Jewish reserve officers in the past is that training days typically fall on Saturdays. Saturday is the Jewish Sabbath, so that means that those training days are out for many of the faithful. So why not switch training days to Sundays instead?
And so we're going to change that so we can embrace the entire community of Los Angeles and get a very, very significant increase in our reserves.
LAPD Chief Charlie Beck announces the launch of the city's first all-Jewish Reserve Academy class. Instruction will take place on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays instead of traditional Saturdays. The department is trying to boost the number of reserve officers. Currently, it has around 400 reserves. The goal is 2,000.
Yes, there is a slight rise in crime, and certainly one of the things that we need is more people out on patrol. And this is one of the ways that the department believes that it can reduce crime.
LAPD reservists are non-paid, part-time, sworn officers. They oftentimes volunteer in between the real jobs. They also carry guns. And in uniform, the average person cannot tell the difference between them and full-time officers. The Reserve Corps was created during World War II, when many LAPD officers went off to war, leaving job vacancies back here at home. Today, reserves are required to volunteer at least 16 hours a month. They also undergo the same strict background checks, polygraph tests, and physical exams as full-time officers. At the LAPD Wilshire Station, members of the Jewish faith fill the room on this first day of orientation. Chaplain Newman had spread the message on Facebook that training days were switching, and the response has been positive.
I'm humbled. I feel as the room gets fuller and fuller, I keep feeling smaller and smaller.
Attorney Ari Friedman says switching days to Sundays means he and others in his congregation can finally volunteer after years of thinking about it.
We don't get into the car, we don't make phone calls, we don't turn lights on Sabbath. So for Sunday, it's an option.
But the LAPD admits the reserve program is not for everyone. Only 1 out of every 100 applicants makes it through training. Also a possible hindrance for Jewish men, the LAPD does not allow beards for safety reasons. Mark Friedman would have to stop growing his.
I would have to think it over because it is for some religious reasons, and I would have to weigh, discuss it with my wife, maybe with my rabbis.
But for others in the room?
I can speak for the Jewish community. There's a concept of tikkun olam, which is making your world a better place. And this is how can you make your world a better place than being out there in your own community and keeping your own community safe.
From the Jewish communities surrounding the LAPD's West Bureau, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The LAPD plans to target other communities to build its reserve force to 2,000 officers strong. Well, the North Hollywood community came out in full force recently to brave the shave and make a bold statement in support of some very brave kids. Amir Zargar is taking the plunge and shaving his thick head of hair. He says it's all worth it as he bids farewell to his long, lush mane.
It's for a good cause, and to be honest, I don't really need the hair. I think donating the hair to someone who can use it better, someone with cancer, and I think it's a good cause.
Amir is one of several dozen community members who came out to get their heads shaven to benefit the St. Baldrick's Foundation, a volunteer organization that raises funds for children's cancer research.
I just wanted to support kids that have cancer.
Matthew and his dad, Greg, who's an LAFD firefighter, also got the bald treatment. Greg says they make it a family tradition.
This is a worthwhile cause, and every year, me and my son, Matthew, we come here We participate. We have a great time.
The 14th annual event, which took place at Fire Station 89 in North Hollywood, is put on each year by members of the Los Angeles Fire and Police Departments. And even Police Chief Charlie Beck shaved a few heads.
It's a very, very tough thing for a family to have a young person struck with cancer, and to get a little hope and a little sunshine in that time is a great thing.
St. Baldrick's has put on this event for the past 14 years all across the country. This year, the foundation has reached a milestone, surpassing the $1 million mark in donations, which will help provide medical advancements in childhood cancer research.
The St. Baldrick's, besides the U.S. government, is the second largest source of funding for childhood cancer research, and that's why it's so important for us to come out here and just make a difference in children's lives.
St. Baldrick's hopes to continue the tradition, providing hope and one day a cure for all children's cancer. Well, it's official. California Governor Jerry Brown signs legislation to gradually raise the minimum wage. A couple of community members get special recognition for giving back, and the Runyon Canyon hiking trail is now closed, but there are some options for hikers. All these stories in City Beat. In front of a crowd of legislators, union leaders, and workers who've been fighting for increased salaries, California Governor Jerry Brown signed legislation in downtown LA that will raise the state's minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2022. Brown, during a ceremony at the Ronald Reagan State Building, said the passage of SB 3 doesn't mark the end of the struggle for livable wages, but it's a big step in the right direction.
Economically, minimum wages may not make sense, but morally and socially and politically, they make every sense because it binds the community together and makes sure that parents can take care of their kids in a much more satisfactory way.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti issued a statement applauding the move, saying California leads the nation once again. Millions of Californians can now reach the American dream. Uber recently held its first work-on-demand event at Crenshaw United Methodist Church as part of its 12-month effort to recruit thousands of drivers from L.A. District 8 Council member Marquise Harris-Dawson was on hand to show his support. One Uber driver said working for the company has not only helped him financially, but...
You know, it's not a grind like you get a second job and you have to change your mindset to go from one job to the next. For me, it doesn't do that. Just get in the car, push a button, and do what I have to do.
The Board of Public Works recently recognized a couple of Neighborhood Council Clean Street heroes for their exceptional leadership, support, and engagement with community cleanups. One college student was chosen for her cleanup efforts in Wilmington.
The award is just motivation to keep going, motivation to keep doing cleanups, to keep working in the community and empowering people to create change.
The popular hiking trail Runyon Canyon is now officially closed until July 31st to accommodate repair work on a roughly 1 mile stretch of a 6-inch Department of Water and Power water pipe. In the meantime, hikers can use other nearby trails, including Franklin or Fryman Canyon Parks, Hollywood Reservoir, or Willacre Park. Traditional and fine art paintings go on display for the month of April. Help celebrate Record Store Day as it shines the spotlight on independent record stores across the country. And LA street artists help transform a neighborhood alley into an art gallery. All this in this week's Things to Do. The California Art Club will present its 105th annual gold medal exhibition at the Autry Museum of the American West. The display of more than 200 contemporary to traditional fine art paintings and sculptures pays tribute to the pioneering artists who founded the organization in 1909 and inspired California Impressionism, the first artistic movement to be defined as uniquely Californian. The exhibiting artists employ classical fine art techniques to create works that push the boundaries and explore topical imagery and messages. The exhibition runs from April 3rd to the 24th at the Autry Museum located at 4700 Western Heritage Way. For more, visit californiaartclub.org. Record Store Day is an annual event founded in 2007, held on the third Saturday of April each year to celebrate the culture of the independently owned record store. The day brings together fans, artists, and thousands of independent record stores across the world. A number of records are pressed specifically for Record Store Day and are only distributed to shops participating in the event. This year, Record Store Day is on Saturday, April 16th, To find out which stores near you are participating, visit recordstoreday.com. Over 80 murals canvass the alleyways, stairways, dumpsters, gated fences, and garage doors of historic Filipino town. Known as the GABA Arts District, this dynamic neighborhood has attracted emerging and well-known street artists from across Los Angeles and around the world. Join in as the tour treks through the alleys of the GABA Arts District with curator and Alley Project founder Jason Ostro. Enjoy a walking tour and meet several of the artists, learn more about the history of the project, and discover how it's transformed the community. The tour takes place on April 16th at the GABA Gallery, located at 3126 Beverly Boulevard. For details, visit atlasobscura.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
This is Koreatown. My name is Kwang Bae Kim. You watch LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Members, if you're in your offices, want to welcome everyone to the Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Mr. Clerk, we have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bono, Buscaino, Cedillo, Engler, Fuentes, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretska, Corin, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Fuentes moves. Buscaino seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Bonin moves. Rue seconds. Next.
Mr. President, the Office of Finance recommends that item 2D be continued to May 11. Further, the Bureau of Street Lighting recommends that item 7 be received and filed. In addition, there are requests to continue items 1E and 1D to May 13, and items 1F and G to May 3rd, and lastly, item 22 to April 19.
Okay, so ordered without objection. Continue.
Items 1 through 9 are items noticed for public hearing.
Do we have cards on those items?
Yes, sir. Cards on items 1, 2, and 3.
Let's hold those items. Mr. Fuentes.
Mr. President, if you could continue items 1B and 1C.
Okay, and how long?
30 days.
So let's continue those two items to May, is it May 13th, Mr. Clerk?
That is correct, sir. May 13.
Okay, so now, Mr. Buscaino.
Next round.
Okay, so let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, let us continue.
Very good, sir. Items 10 through 22 are items for which public hearings have been held. For item 12, the weighted value of the supporting ballots exceeds the weighted value of the opposing ballots, 69.64% to 30.36%. And for item 13, the weighted value of the supporting ballots exceeds the weighted value of the opposing ballots, 83.2% to 16.8%. Majority protests were not found to exist, and those proposed establishments may be authorized.
Thank you. Mr. Buscaino.
Item number 11 on the desk, please.
Can we hold 11 per Mr. Buscaino's request? Members, other specials? Let us prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That brings us, yes.
I'm sorry, sir. Those ordinances will go over 1 week unless reconsidered later with 12 members.
Okay, and again, these are the items that we've already held a public hearing for. All right, so let's move on to the next set of items.
Items 23 through 25 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, they're now before this body. Members 23 through 25, any specials? Do we have cards?
Yes, sir. Cards on all 3.
Okay, continue.
Very good, sir. Items 26 through 29 are items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
At this point, I think we will. I'll wait for the chair, and that would then bring us where?
Mr. President, it appears to be 10:15. If you wish, we could go into the special meeting, or if not, we could go to presentations or items called special.
Why don't we try to get through the special meeting?
Very good, sir. That Blumenfield, Bono, Buscaino, Cedillo, Engler, Fuentes, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretska, Corin, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 11 members present.
Okay, what's the first item?
That brings us to item 30. It's an item noticed for public hearing. We do have a card on the matter, sir.
All right. Mr. Walsh, please come forward. We're in the special. We're on item 30. No applause. Mr. Herman, come forward. Mr. Walsh and Mr. Zumadog, if you're in the audience.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or at J. Walsh Confidential. tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This is item 30. It concerns $110 million financing acquisition, rehabilitation, so it's up there now, improvement and equipping of a 430-unit multifamily rental housing project at 12700 Van Nuys Boulevard and another one at 12601 Pierce Street. This is incredibly expensive. The private developers, if they so choose to build low-cost housing, which they don't, but if they did, they could build for about 35% of what it costs you to build low-cost housing. Because when you build it, there's no negotiation. You go to your favorite developer. He tells you how much he wants, and you give it to him. There's no negotiation. There's nothing. It's an incredibly expensive proposition. That's why we have practically no low-cost housing built in the city, and the LA Times a week ago Saturday wrote a story saying how low-cost housing is shrinking in the city, not growing, shrinking in the city. And evictions are growing as you try to get rid of people. This is, you do a terrible job. You'll pass this. This is, it doesn't even mention who put this on the agenda. HollywoodHighlands.org, corrupt house building.
Is Mr. Dog?
We'll have 6 seconds.
Is Mr. Zumadog? I do not see him. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, so do we want to adjourn the special and return to the regular?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Clerk? Okay, then let's quickly go to item 2. I have a card from Mr. Zumadog on item 2. I don't see him. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Buscaino for a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I am pinch hitting for Mr. Cedillo. We are here to honor Ben Franklin High School's 100th year anniversary. Let's give the Panthers a round of applause. And we all want to welcome you to Los Angeles City Hall. I'm joined by a number of student body members who represents the arts, the athletics, academics, and of course their leader, Principal Regina Marquez Martinez. Ben Franklin High School opened on February 7th, 1916 with 209 students. Today the school currently educates 2,600 students. It was originally housed on the second floor of the Monte Vista Grammar School, and they moved to the existing location where it stands today at Avenue 54 in April and May of that same year. Their yearbook is named Almanac, and in reference to Ben Franklin's publication, Poor Richard's Almanac. And their alumni have had many different successful career paths over the course of the last 100 years, including Franklin Roach, father of aeronomy, Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, the original series, Bobby Riggs, International Tennis Hall of Fame, Sheriff Lee Baca, Chief Daryl Gates, Dick Mohe from the NFL, Louis Noel from the LA City Council. He served between the years of 1963 and 1977. Alan Jacobs, NFL player, American football player Ron Lopez, Sammy Lee, Olympic diver, our city attorney Rocky Delgadillo, council member Mike Hernandez, former Miss Universe and Miss Thailand Bowie Simon, so a host of well-respected alums. They are currently a home of the Franklin STEM Magnet, the Franklin Dual Language Academy, which you'll hear more from our principal here. This dual language academies for middle school students, and more recently, the School for Advanced Studies. Mr. Cedillo's office has been engaged with Franklin High School for the last several years on many projects, from summer arts program to volunteering for events around the neighborhood. These students are impressive. They are committed to their education. They love their community. They love their city. And we're so proud to have this fine educational institution and their amazing students here before us in the heart of Highland Park in the 1st Council District. So you will now hear from Principal Regina Marquez Martinez, and she will be followed by ROTC member Kevin Nunez, who I'm trying to recruit to the LAPD once he graduates from college. So help me welcome Miss Regina Marquez Martinez, a principal of Franklin High School.
Welcome, Madam Principal.
Thank you very much. It is with great honor and pleasure that I am principal of Franklin High School. 30 years ago, I did graduate myself from Franklin High School. It is extremely humbling to see how far our students have come. We have an award-winning robotics team. We have 3rd place in the state for academic decathlon. They will be traveling to Alaska in 2 weeks. We have our Cyber Patriots right now competing nationally in Baltimore, Maryland, as we speak today. And all of our extracurricular activities that really, really tie in our students to our community. We are very, very grateful for the support from our councilmen, and we not only have 100 years of history, but I am sure that we're going to have 100 years of excellence because I have the future behind me. Right. So thank you for acknowledging us.
Thank you.
Help me welcome Kevin Nunez. There he is. What grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
Senior. What college are you going to?
UC Merced.
UC Merced. All right.
All right.
You're on.
Thank you, honorable council members of the... Thank you.
Yeah, City Council.
Relax,
City Council.
Man. It's okay.
Thank you for recognizing Benjamin Franklin High School. And we are proud to represent the 100th year of Benjamin Franklin High School. I will now present my peers.
All right. Help me welcome ASB President Michelle Ontiveros.
Yeah.
Did I butcher that?
Hello, fellow council members. My name is Michelle Ontiveros. I'm the ASB President for the student body of Franklin High School. I feel very honored to represent a group of students that have been able to contribute to the 100 years of excellence at Franklin High School. I will now introduce my following peers that have come with me today.
Okay.
My name is Opal Hetherington. I'm in the 6th grade at Franklin Dual Language Academy. I'm proud to represent my classmates from Franklin Dual Language Academy. Thank you.
What language are you learning?
Spanish.
Can you give us a little taste of what do you learn so? Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. Hola, mi nombre es Opal Hetherington.
All right. Band leader.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Ezekiel Ramos. I am the current drum major for Franklin High School. I am also the founder and president of the school's GSA and California Boys State delegate.
What's your favorite band?
My band.
What's your favorite band? That's
my band. Thank you for the support and having us here today.
Thank you.
Good job, Ezekiel.
Go ahead. My name is Alvin Bosco, and I play for the basketball team in Franklin.
Basketball team.
Oh, and volleyball and track, and I represent all the athletes from Franklin High School.
Okay, we'll see you at the 2024 Olympics here in LA. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Yasmin Vargas. I'm happy to represent my school and my teammates and to get this reward from the City Council.
And what grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
Senior. What's next for you?
School.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we recognize and congratulate Franklin High School's 100th year birthday here in the city of Los Angeles. And on behalf of Councilmember Cedillo, we want him to get well soon. We recognize Ben Franklin, behalf of this entire city family. We recognize you. a number of whereases. And congratulations, and we wish you the best in the next 100 years.
Let's give them a round of applause.
You hold this. You got this? Okay, guys, gather around. There you go. Turn around now. Now look at Betsy.
Thank you. And continued success to all of the young people. Let's move to item 3, Mr. Walsh. Item 3, Mr. John Walsh.
Takes me this long because I got everything roped off so we can't walk. Now, item 3 concerns street lighting. If this is, in fact, as I've said before, and I will say now, you do a good job now on street lighting. When I first moved here to my president address in 1976, you did a terrible job on street lighting. The lights were out for weeks on end. But now that you've revamped the system and you put in a new street lighting system, actually I haven't seen a street light out in about 7 or 8 years. Remember, if you do a good job, I'm the first person to congratulate you. I'm not one of those old white guys, oh, you're all a bunch of crooks, you're all a bunch of crooks. That's not me. I'm here to reform you. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, no more cards on that item. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now move to item 23. Mr. Walsh, Mr. Herman on item 23.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This is item 23 in support of the city's 15 great streets. This is an insult. This is an insult to us. Most of these streets, incidentally, are in the business area or in the white-only area. We know the white-only area west of La Brea. And they're going to spend $350,000 to, it doesn't say what they're going to do. It just says program delivery, $350,000 for the 15. And incidentally, they don't want to name the 15 great streets because it would prove that it's racist. Now, Kern Price, you might not mind this racism. You might be for Hillary. But some of us don't like it.
Hey, you all know about racism? I'll tell you about racism, about our mayor to approve of this outrageous amount of money. Isn't a public entity applied to you, the ADA? Title 242 U.S.C. 12131, discrimination, housing community investment department. There's no such bullshit like this necessary. Amendments, coordinated. But Mr. Speaker, you don't know well, you all. You don't know you well. You know. City Administration Officer, Economic, reduce Development Department to authorize the control of implementing these actions. I oppose. I hold my time to 1 minute, Mr. Speaker.
Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Weezar.
For 23 forthwith, please.
23 forthwith. And Alan, Mr. Clerk, don't we have some ordinances we need to reconsider?
Yes, sir. Those would be items 10, 12, and 13.
Okay, so the first vote will be for reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now let's actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Buscaino, would you be ready with item 11?
Yes, sir. In fact, if maybe I'll defer to Mr. Huizar, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Jose. Want to kick it off?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Buscaino. And I want to thank Councilmember Buscaino and Councilwoman Nuri Martinez and Fuentes for working with our local communities who brought this item to our attention over 5 years ago. This item is a proactive measure that will help us go out and work with local small businesses and allowing them to be aware of any additional incentives and or resources they could tap into to have the operations be a bit more environmentally friendly and to emit cleaner emissions into the air. This is not only a long time coming, but it is groundbreaking in that we are being proactive and not waiting until there is an operation that continues to disrupt our local communities. So I want to thank all the members of the community who worked on this for 5 years. Stand up. Yes, you deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much for your hard work. And what's also creative about this is that new developments will be required to have air filtration systems should they be near freeways. We all know of the ill effects on our health, particularly our young people, when we have to breathe the air near our freeways. The emissions from diesel fuel and other things are harmful. And this will help clean up the air and help the health of our people who live near our freeway systems. So thank you so much. Long time coming. I want to thank our council as well for your previous support on this when we voted on the policy. This was sent to our city attorney for form and legality and has returned back for the final vote. I know that the committee members who have been working on this for a very long time are sighing a sigh of relief that here we finally are for the final vote. Thank you so much.
Mr. Buscaino.
And thank you, Mr. Huizar, for your leadership. I do want to recognize you and also my predecessor, Janice Hahn, first kicked this off 5 years ago. This ordinance, colleagues, before you is not only a win for this city, it's a win for the 3 communities that have impacts of high concentration of environmental hazards. Pleased and proud to see Wilmington represented here, of course, Pacoima, and also Boyle Heights. We recognize you. We thank you for your leadership, and also the business community who's present here as well, who helped craft this ordinance. The ordinance before you, colleagues, includes the development standards in these 3 specific neighborhoods for industrial businesses, housing next to industrial businesses, or development within 1,000 feet of a freeway. An ombudsman position will be created because of this ordinance, who will be responsible for assisting businesses with environmental regulation, compliance, and incentives. And lastly, a conditional use permit for oil refineries and surface mining. In addition, I advocated for a focus on enforcement on current code and environmental regulations on existing businesses, and this focus has been added to the ombudsman's responsibility. Building and safety and city attorney are expected to track the additional caseload in the first year of this ordinance, and they will assess whether or not they would need additional resources that will be focused on enforcement in the future years to come. Along with Mr. Huizar, I do want to recognize the Department of City Planning, Liberty Hill Foundation, UCLA, Luskin Community Scholars, concerned residents that are here before us, local stakeholders in the business community, and the environmental justice groups, specifically in my district. Thank you to the Plum Committee for approving the addition of the enforcement piece that I advocated for on the importance of addressing illegal and non-compliant existing businesses. This ordinance, as you've heard, has been 5 years in the making. I'm excited about Clean Up, Green Up, which I know is a step toward addressing the health impacts over concentration of environmental health hazards in these 3 specific areas. We've learned a lot from Exide. We've learned a lot from Porter Ranch. But just know that this work is not done today. It's incumbent upon all of us to monitor the ordinance on the ground in the coming years so that we can work to make this ordinance as effective as possible. And it's through the continued collaboration that we'll end up seeing better health quality for the residents in these specific communities and throughout the city of Los Angeles. So thank you, Mr. Huizar, to you and your committee. Janice Hahn, we have to recognize her for partnering with you 5 years ago. And to those who are here, the ground troops, the warriors who fought for this ordinance, we recognize you and we thank you for your leadership.
Mr. Koretz, you wanted to...
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a big fan of this effort ever since Mr. Huizar introduced this in 2011. So I wanted also to express my appreciation for your vision of a cleaner and healthier city. I think it's time that as a society we decide that nobody gets to profit from business practices that negatively impact the health of others. I think that's not right, it's not fair, and Clean Up, Green Up is a tremendous step in the right direction. I particularly appreciate what we will now require in terms of air filtration near the freeways. It's something I've tried to do in some of the developments in my district near freeways. I appreciate your perseverance and all the residents and stakeholders that help make this happen. So thank you. This is a great step.
Thank you. Okay, let us prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Huizar. Forthwith at Mr. Huizar's request. Let's, Mr. Clerk, move now to item 25, where I have Mr. Herman on item 25. Mr. Dog and Mr. Walsh.
Now that we're talking about beautification, y'all, you all know that a public entity falls under Title 242 U.S.C. non-discrimination. But in us minority areas where us hoods run the show, we live in a poverty community. We know what it's like to live with trash and no beautification other than those shitty murals you put up depicting us deplorable people, the way we live in our conditions like the chipmunk from the valley. Don't you all get it? Have you not learned from your speakers, you all? Apparently not, have you? Apparently not. That's why I come here talking about beautification, mothers. Because my mother told me what it's like to pick up paper from the streets, not to depend on some white supremacist leaders to come into my city and tell me what the hell to do to pick up my shit. That's right. I'm talking about the poverty pimps who created the situation where we live, the non-beautification. Come to CD14, you all, off of Soda Corridor by Hazard Park, and see the beautification there. See the beautification. You can't even walk on the goddamn street. Use sidewalk anymore. So you tell me, brother, who's fixing my damn streets? Is it you, Mr. Councilman Huizar on CD410? There's no beautification. Come on, you all. You're the ones who posted those boards over my mural off of Soto and Cesar Chavez by King Taco for the last 10 fucking years. Where's my mural? Put that shit back and get yourself a job.
Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Dog.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns Mr. Weezar's district, funding for community beautification efforts in Council District 14. $40,000, how will it be spent? Well, maybe you can build some more doors, phony doors there, so Mr. Weezar's girlfriends can...
No, stay on the subject, Mr. Walsh.
Community beautification, and I'm giving you a suggestion. I'll tell you right now, this is the filthiest area of the city. Why? Because Weezar doesn't take care of it. Now, when this neighborhood, Boyle Heights, was a Jewish neighborhood, you could eat off the floor. But once almost all of the Jews left, and the Hispanics showed up, then there is absolutely nothing done there. Go and take a look at it. They want to move all the Hispanics out now and bring back the Jews at $5,000 an apartment. And that's what they're doing. Where is this $40,000 going? It doesn't say anything here about how this money is spent. Maybe we could put up a memorial to the nun who was the Catholic nun who was run over with this beautification money, that was run over in Boyle Heights and killed by a drunk driver who actually got drunk at one of the restaurants that you gave a liquor license to. I'm telling you right now, I know as a Jew, grandmother's a Jew, Jews don't go to East L.A., but if you went there and looked at the neighborhood where your parents and grandparents grew up and see what a shithole it is now that a corrupt Mexican American is running things, it is filthy. Boyle Heights is filthy, disgusting.
Mr. Dog.
Thank you. Zumadog, Zumadog.com. This is about $40,000 for beautification. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Weezar, his motion with Corrette's second the motion, if the two gentlemen could explain to the people what we're getting for that $40,000 as a result for beautification. Because, you know, when I pick up the LA Times or turn on the talk radio, they're not talking about the beautification crisis in Los Angeles. They're talking about the homeless crisis. I think this money should be used for homeless services. And, you know, gee, I called up to get the tree trims in my area. They say 40-year wait. I am not kidding. Call 311. Tell them you want your tree trimmed. They'll say yes in 40 years. Are you kidding me? Take this money. Help the homeless. That's what the crisis is, not beautification. And now, please, council members, you have time. Answer.
Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
We'll now move to item 1. Mr. Dog, you're there. Why don't you just stay? We'll go to item 1. You'll be followed by Mr. Herman and Mr. Walsh. Yes, sir?
Thank you. My name's Zumadog, Zumadog, Zumadog.com. I've been talking about this department for a while. This is about building and safety and for a liens for nuisance abatement and noncompliance of code violations. Now, interesting, somebody came up to me out here and they said, excuse me, what are they talking about today? And I said, well, let's see item 1. It's about building and safety. The people go, yes, that's the one we're here for. And I said, why? Let me ask you, is it like a mafia, Tony Soprano, corrupt racket where inspectors come up to your house and they tell you got to do this and that, then you're on the lien list and you can't get off? And they say, no, not me, but my neighbor. Isn't that an interesting response? Not like, no, that's not what it's about. What do you mean? No, they knew exactly what I was talking about. So let me explain for council and the people watching. I say, don't put these on the list. Here's what happens. The entire city of L.A., the whole thing is for one thing and one thing only, to seize your property through mafia racketeering practices. How this manifests, and the FBI, by the way, not only has made busts from the Building and Safety Department, because you have to pay a little extra money in the window if you want anything done. So we know about that. We know about building and safety inspectors busted by the FBI, because if you don't give them a little something on the side, they're going to keep coming back forever. Just see Chinatown. Just look at The Godfather. Tony Soprano. What happens, the inspectors come up to you, they say, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. It's all a bunch of bullshit to begin with. And then they keep coming back. And you end up losing your property. And so, Council President Wesson, I would like council to instruct the Building and Safety Department to suspend their mafia racketeering illegal practices of these illegal liens that has resulted in an FBI investigation, and I think that it's all over City Hall right now. Handcuffs coming. Stop it.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote, members. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to move to item 24. Mr. Previn, come forward, and Mr. Walsh. Mr. Previn, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Dog, on item 24.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. It is Eric Previn from CD2. And item 24 is a Buscaino-Bonin motion for CD15, which I believe is Mr. Buscaino's district. And it's a transfer of $150,000. And it's going to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for continued comprehensive services to the homeless. Now, Mr. Buscaino has been a leader in providing various services to the homeless. I'm concerned, though, because in his neighborhoods there has been a lot of controversy here. Some people feel that he's providing services like being arrested and being moved out of the area and so on and so forth. Others feel that, he has been providing removal of tiny home services and other kinds of activities like that. Now, I respect that these are complicated issues, and 5611 came before this body very recently, and to the disappointment of a number of you, it was approved because it is, once again, a doubling down on sort of enforcement as opposed to services to the people who may be on the streets. And, I know there are allegations that they're blocking the doorways to restaurants, and I think that when that kind of a situation happens, the law supports moving them off to the side. I'm striving for something that is more humane, and I went myself, you wouldn't allow comment on that item, but I went to the Chrysalis Foundation where they run the facility where individuals can bring their materials and store them there. If they show up on a weekly basis and check on it, they can do that. And it was extremely humane, I have to say, and I appreciate those who have been involved in making that available. But that, of course, is merely a kind of a Band-Aid short-term solution for what is a horrifying problem, and we have to stem the production of people getting into the homeless state and feeling completely marginalized and without opportunity. So I really hope that this 150 is not going to the enforcement dimension, but to the care dimension, because I think that's what the public expects at this time, given all of the crises that we've been facing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Dog, followed by Mr. Mohammed.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or jwalshconfidential.com, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Number 24, relative to funding for services to help resolve the homeless and related health and welfare issues in Council District 15. That's south of here. Notice it says resolve. What they want to do is kick out all the homeless in Buscaino's district and push them up here into Skid Row. They want to contain it here. They want his district to be lily white. And there are just too many blacks and Hispanic homeless people that are in Mr. Buscaino's district. And that's why you see nothing about any kind of details. It's a huge amount of money, and I'm telling you right now, no.
Mr. Dog, followed by Mr. Mohammed.
Yes, thank you. Very important issue, homeless, and it is the #1 crisis. Eric Garcetti, the mayor, says all hands on deck approach. I myself was homeless. I'd like to thank Bill Rosendahl, the council member, rest in peace, for helping me with that, to become homed, and I'm sensitive to this issue. Now, here's what I'd like. Here's my perspective. This is for $150,000 to fund services for the homeless and related health services. Well, I want to know what measures are in place to make sure the city is no longer abusing the money? Because if you look at yesterday's agenda here, I guess the Department of Justice, the White House, I guess they're suing Los Angeles City Hall for their abuse of federal funds when it comes to this topic of the housing and the homelessness. So to repeat, good people of Los Angeles and City Council, the Department of Justice is suing Los Angeles City Council for their abuse of federal funds regarding the expenditures for the homeless services. So I would like somebody here on council to stand up and explain to the people before any money is approved what measures have been put in place to make sure this money is used to help homelessness and services and not enrich the connected nonprofits that provide the service. Because here's the thing, everybody, it's always warm and fuzzy. We need money for the homelessness, and then the most shady connected nonprofit gets the money, it goes into their pocket, and then you're reading a CBS report. They were buying wave runners and going to the Ritz-Carlton and having shrimp cocktails and going to Vegas for all kinds of conventions with the money. So, to repeat, it all sounds good, except the Department of Justice is suing City Council for their abuse of money like this.
Mr. Mohammed, followed by Mr. Herman.
But America have a fallen political system. America's political system have failed. But anyway, it seems as though black America had begun to be scapegoats for the failure in America. But America's political system is broken and no way we can prepare it. But you shouldn't be riding the backs of the poor to get over your immoral message.
Stay on the subject, Mr. Mohammed.
This is a subject about the homelessness.
Now get there.
Black exploitation on Skid Row, the ugliest picture in America where black exploitation exists on. And it should not be existing. And the mayor of Los Angeles and the public officials get many millions of dollars yearly to help the homeless, but the money goes in another direction and never goes to the needed. They have unfair distribution of the wealth. The wealth should be fairly distributed. We have no checks in Congress what our political people do with our taxpayer money. We have no duty in political office. We should have political responsibility. Our political system have no duty towards us. Our religious responsibility have no religion towards us. We just outcast wayfarers. We are worse than Hitler in Nazi Germany. This is a communist country. This is not a socialist country. All the money is on the top, and we know who control 80% of the world wealth.
Okay. Mr. Herman.
Mr. President.
Hold 1 second.
I'm
yes,
sorry,
Mr.
Mr. President.
Fuentes.
If you'd indulge me for a second, it might be appropriate to inform our young visitors what is happening today as they're learning about City Hall. Because I think if I were visiting City Hall for the first time, I'd be a little apprehensive as to the scene that's about to play out here. So if you could just, Mr. President, explain to them what it is that we're doing, sir.
Okay, what I was going to try to do is make it past this speaker and allow Mr. Rue to do that. So I'll just briefly say welcome. And this is a part of the council day where we have people from the public come up and they give their opinion on various issues. With that said, so just kind of enjoy the show. Mr. Herman?
Well, it's definitely a show. As you heard the two speakers talking about the conditions on our street, you see the homeless people on our streets. Do you not feel bad for them or some remorse and apathy and sympathy? Why are they there? Why? It's a question we ask these 15 council members who, under a court order by the Department of Justice in Washington, has raised the questions about Independent Living Center of Southern California and a settlement due to compliance matters. The same subject the two gentlemen previously spoke about before me regarding why we're in such a deficit that we can't spend money which is only $1.5 billion to help homeless people find locations in a nice residential home. But to the children, it's no concern. There's no apathy. The callous members here sit there behind their so-called ghoulish little chairs. But they forgot that CV case 12/0551 was discussed yesterday here at City Hall under closed session. And it talked about fair housing. It talked about Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It talked about the issue of fair housing. And the homeless are still on the street. That's why we're here, exercising our First Amendment to protect people from being homeless, so that you are our future, to take me off the street. Give me peace of mind to live in a home like this house I have here before you, and you're always welcome to City Hall. This is our house. We waive the sovereignty of the Brown Act here, and we ask that you, Mr. Poverty Pimp, give us back our 2 minutes of public comment.
Okay. We got through that without profanity. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, boys and girls, we're going to bring you back to civility here in the City Council. And I know we'd like to welcome you. And I believe Mr. Bonin and Mr. Fuentes, they're fighting over on who's going to take you up to the Tom Bradley Tower, because that's what Tom LaBonge always did here. But colleagues, despite what you heard from the show, we are all doing everything we can in our respective council districts to address the homeless issue, whether it's through permanent supportive housing, reaching out, working with our community-based organizations, our faith-based organizations. This item before you extends the contract that I have in my district with LAHSA, and I truly believe that it warrants an extension. It warrants an extension because of the work that they do day in and day out in collaboration with our service providers, in collaboration with the Los Angeles Police Department, and numbers don't lie. This last year, my emergency response team has visited over 900 encampments, has housed 235 individuals. 102 of them were placed in crisis housing. 6 of those placed in transitional housing. 107 motel vouchers were given. 2 were placed in permanent supportive housing. And 18 individuals were placed in detox centers. In addition to the outreach, we're proud of the fact that we've opened 78 units of permanent supportive housing in my district, Vermont Villas. We have an additional 250 units coming online within the next year. So this item before you recognizes the work that we're doing in Council District 15 from Wilmington, San Pedro, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, and Watts. And lets LAHSA, our emergency response teams, know that we want to continue their services in my district for the next year. Thank you.
Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to be acknowledged for a moment to recognize some visitors here today. Seated here in the first couple of rows here, we have folks here from the LAX Coastal Chamber of Commerce, their Leadership Fellowship Program. With us is Kristen Lahner, who is the president of the chamber currently, Christina Davis, who's the executive director, and Tom Flintoff, who helps put together this leadership program. These folks spend a long time, a couple months throughout the year, learning about leadership and about civic affairs here in Los Angeles. They're here at City Hall today. It's a phenomenal program. I just want to welcome you here today and thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause. Welcome. I'd like to defer to Mr. Rue. And then I'll get back to you, Mr. Rue, for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, thank you, colleagues. Today we have students from Hancock Park Elementary School. You guys want to stand?
Yeah.
And Mr. Bonin, The students here have a leg up on your crowd because they're starting early. They're 5th graders, and they're joined by their teacher, Ms. Beverly Glass, and a few of their parent volunteers. They are studying civics and how government works. And as you guys have seen how government works, our country is so great because of our First Amendment. We have freedom of speech, which you learned in school, freedom of expression. So anybody could come and say whatever they want, however they feel. So that's what makes our country so strong. And I'm glad that you guys were here to witness it. And they just came from the Bradley Tower. They're going to actually go back and finish the tour of City Hall. And pending that we finish our meeting on a timely manner, I will be able to join you guys for lunch. And I'll see if any of my other colleagues would like to come along as well. But thank you so much for your interest in civic affairs and in your local government. This is where everything happens. This is how, if we do our jobs right, you don't even know we exist. And that's the way we want it. So we want to make sure the streets are clean, the trash is picked up, everything is done in an orderly and timely manner. So you guys have a good day. Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Now, I want you to keep standing. Guys, stand back up. Stand back up. Let's
you guys want to stand? Oh, and you guys are on TV,
Put the camera back on the young people. Stand up.
Say hi to your
parents.
parents.
Stand up and wave to your parents. Wave. Because they can watch you later today. All right, again, welcome. Mr. Buscaino.
Or, Mr. President.
Without objection. Mr. Krikorian, let's go through the budget and finance items, and you let us know if we can handle these things out of closed session or what have you. And Mr. Clerk, what are those items 26 through
29, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Budget and Finance has considered each of these items. Items 27, 28, and 29 are settlements, and Budget and Finance recommends approval of the City Attorney's recommendations, which can be voted on in open session unless members have questions or concerns. Item 26 is one that will need to be considered briefly in closed session, and we can resolve it with dispatch.
Mr. President, for item 27, the case entitled Juliet Nicholas versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $140,000 in settlement. For item 28, in the case entitled Randy Sawchuk versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $190,000 in settlement. And for item 29, in the case entitled City of Los Angeles versus LA Unified School District, there is a recommendation to expend $550,000 in settlement.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Sergeants, we're going to go to items 26, closed session item. If we could please clear the council chambers. We're going into closed session. Sergeants, please help us clear the chambers. We're going into closed session. We will reopen when we return. So everyone in the chambers, if you don't have anything specifically to do with item 26, you should be gone. Okay, Mr. Clerk, that brings us where? Where are we now?
Mr. President, that takes council to general public comment.
Okay, so I see Mr. Murphy walking in. We're going to do general public comment. Please come on down. Sean, you can start today. We're going to remove them. Sergeants?
It's all right, guys.
And you'll be followed by Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Walsh. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. President. I miss Bill Rosenthal already. I'm glad I went to the funeral mass. You all must have freaked out when you saw me in my suit. Well, I got some good news. Expo Lines will open 6 weeks from Friday down Santa Monica from the 7th and Metro Center. It's finally going to open. I want to let my fans know my birthday's coming up soon on the 24th. Be 52 years old. Tell the truth. How old you're going to be. St. Charles Festival's coming up on that weekend, April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Want to give you the good news about the Expo line. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could get Mr. Previn and Mr. Walsh.
Sir, let me use Sean's 10 seconds to make a request, which is...
No, just come on. You have your...
Reconsider
Go ahead.
item 10 today
No,
and
Mr. Previn, go
to
ahead.
address the neighborhood council item.
Go
It
ahead.
would be very appropriate, sir. I've asked a number of the council members. I've asked Mr. Rue, Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Marquise Harris Dawson. I asked many of them if they would reconsider item number 10, which is your item, sir. You and Marquise approved at 6 p.m. April 5th to give more time to neighborhood councils to remain short time for members of the public. Now, sir, as much as that appeals to the neighborhood councils, and I am, being considered for that office myself, I must tell you, it sends a signal that there are sort of two tiers. And obviously there are more than two tiers, but we don't want tiers. We want everybody treated the same. That's why Council Rule 93 is going to be a big conflict with having people seated at the table, being visible. I know calling it seated at the table, Mr. O'Connell did a very good job of not using the indicting language, but we're going to get them because it's not appropriate. And we know that all you need to do is make it fair for everybody, and then we're going to be okay. So I would appreciate it, sir, if Mr. Bonin, Mr. Blumenfield,
Thank
Mr. Roof,
you. So if I could have Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Dog, followed by Mr. Mohammed. Mr. Walsh?
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. Zumadog mentioned that the Department of Justice, Obama, is suing the city of Los Angeles. Okay, where's your proof? Where's your proof? Where's your proof? You're not. Okay, just go to yesterday's agenda, Tuesday, April 12th, and look at item 15 to prove it. This is the only city in America that's being sued by Obama. And they don't want to talk about it because some of you may end up in prison. Mitch Englander, he's not here. He's got special permission from Herb Wesson to go out and raise money for his campaign for county office. And incidentally, Hillary made a vicious racist statement the other day, and she said that CP stands for colored people's time. See, in other words, black people are chronically late. Look it up. She's a vicious scum.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. So if I could get Mr. Dog, Mr. Mohammed, and then Mr. Herman.
Thank you. Zumadog, Z-U-M-A-D-O-G-G, Zumadog.com. Now, I'm here, the city attorney especially, to please pay attention. I won declaratory relief from a federal judge, Pragerson, and the city council has been in violation of it. And I would like to present this to the city attorney and ask, please stop violating my rights. It's signed by myself. Thank you. Now, I'd like to address rule number 93. It says, it's your own rules. It says that the cameras must be focused on the recognized speaker. Public comment speakers, when they are called to the podium, they are the recognized speaker. The cameras now are not focused on anything. It's a long shot. It's not focused on the speaker. Please give me my same shots that you guys get. You're in violation of the rules, and we're going to have Pragerson sort this out. Herb, I know you can say, just, you know what, put it back like it used to, fair and equal for the people, because you're in violation of the law. And I can't show a chart for people to see.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mohammed, followed by Mr. Herman.
America is built upon family first. You destroy the family, you destroy America. You destroy the society. Stronger families can make stronger races. But anyway, the larger group of religion, the time moving fast. Y'all speeding at the clock. But Christianity is the number one religion in America, in the African American community. Islam in the African American community is number two. But the leader of religion of the African American Muslim religion is Imam Wajid Muhammad. He leads 2 million African American Muslims in North America. But I was reading about scriptures that said that those who are in charge and obligation of the Mosaic laws failed in their obligation, and those who was favor in Christianity, in Jesus' law, they failed. Evil was their solitude, and they falsified the sign of God, and God got not those who do wrong. But anyway, we should find a way to turn back to the Creator.
Okay, Mr. Herman.
Y'all speeding that clock up there. Y'all are speeding the clock.
So, Mr. City Attorney, are we under a declaration of our First Amendment? Are we going to be recognized, as Zuma Dog pointed out, Section 39, 93, whatever it may be? But the issue revolves and comes to a conclusion of item 15, April 12th, regarding City Council's Independent Living Center of Southern California versus the City of Los Angeles in dispute of a compliance matters with the CRLA, Community Redevelopment Agency, sued by the Department of Justice, as who other than John Walsh pointed out, Washington is finally fed up with your dumbasses. Do your job, Eric Garcetti, and fix the homeless problem. Stop visiting LAX. Do your goddamn job. That's right. Emphatic and suggesting what?
Okay, thank you. That concludes general public comment. Mr. Clerk, what's before this council?
Mr. President, council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Okay, thank you. Announcements, members, announcements. Well, we all rise. If everyone in the chambers would rise for adjourning motions. I'm looking to my left side, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, colleagues. I ask that we adjourn in memory of Roosevelt Larry Johnson, born in 1936 in Athens, Texas, graduated from Frederick Douglass High School in 1955 and went on to the U.S. Army, where he served until 1957. After being honorably discharged, he moved to L.A., where he worked at a chicken factory. He worked at Pasha for 30 years down at the port. In 1995, Mr. Johnson became a longshoreman. He loved to ride his Harley Davidson, watch sports, play dominoes, travel, and tell jokes. He's preceded in death by his 2 sons and survived by his loving wife, Shirley, their 7 children and numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren and siblings. May Roosevelt Larry Johnson rest in peace.
Thank you. I'm continuing to look to my left. I don't see anyone. I'm looking to the right side, my right. I don't see anyone. Members, this council is adjourned.